if someone is in a depression and they've been hiding it, what do you see in some of your clients that have been unsuccessful in committing suicide? What are some of the things that they say or that a person could look for?
Most people, again, are great pretenders of being happy or being content because this is something they've been doing for a long time. One thing about depression is where most, again, people that don't want to share their depression with others, they then isolate themselves. And isolating doesn't always mean going in a room and closing the door. It means not communicating effectively with the people around you, not telling someone, hey, I'm having these bouts of hopelessness, powerlessness. I don't think I can go on moments, And when one is in high priority, which is when they are at a career where they have to perform. We go back to Chelsea Chris. It's the same scenario, just a different person. When you have to perform, you do that performance well. Robin Williams, you do that performance well. When you have to perform, this is what you do. You then show the world, I can be this person for you.
Yeah.
I won't let you down. But when it comes to me,
Mm.
I give myself nothing. And when I have staged my last performance, I will end it. No, they don't tell us that.
Mm.
We don't discover the end until the end is the end.
Wow.
So again, we look for those telltale signs of like when the person now the ones who are seeking help, and I'm not saying that he might have had a psychiatric background. We don't know. We don't know if Twitch had problems in his younger life with depression, or that would take someone to go and do an assessment to find out how all this happened. But one thing we do know he did not have effectively, and that was self-love.
Mm.
Because if he had said if self-love had its perfect work in our lives, it will save us from pain.
Mm.
Think about that. One that loves itself won't harm itself. And I'm not saying they may still go through depression, they may still go through anxiety, but they're going to seek help. That resilience part of them then creates another solution with or without their permission. Now, we all have the resilience in us, but what happens in a person's life when they no longer have the resilience? Which that means when everything is like shut down. So they
Mm.
get tunnel vision. They literally get tunnel vision. It's just like a horse going down a raceway and he has his, peripheral blockers on. You can't see nothing on the outs, nothing on the side. You only focus on what you think you need at that moment.
Mm.
And that moment then becomes detrimental to your being. And I truly believe, Naima, in some aspect of the resilience that we were created in, that they heard a voice of some type. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You don't have to do this. And then they heard another voice. Yes, you do. You don't want to be in pain. So they had to choose between those voices.
Voice they were going to hear. Yeah.
They had
Now,
to choose. They
yeah,
had to choose.
they choose. I'm told that people who are unsuccessful in committing suicide, like maybe they jumped and they meant to kill themselves, it's like the second after they jump, they thought, oh no, I shouldn't have done this, but it's already in motion. um, it's like there's an instant regret, but it's too late. You've done it, and of course, for those who have been successful, we don't know because they were not
Correct.
to say. But for those who tried, I've heard some testimonies saying that they regretted the instant they did it, but it was too late because they had listened to that other voice that said, "No, there's no other way out. You can't
Right.
stand pain anymore. Just end it."
I truly believe fear, false evidence appearing real, then takes over the ego at that point.
Yeah,
It's been in there weaving a series of web destruction for a very long time.
yeah,
And again, uh, suicide is no respecter of persons. It can happen as early as 8 years old to 100. So it did. Again, it is when fear takes over the mindset and no self-awareness is intact. At
absolutely.
that point, the only thing you're self-aware of is that you want to stop your pain, and you feel at that very moment that you have to end your life to do it. And really, you do not. You don't have to end your life. You can choose to do something else. There's always, always another solution.
At the time, you can't see it. So now, for those who've just joined us and maybe have not heard the news, that Stephen Boss, known as Twitch, who was the DJ on the Ellen DeGeneres show, committed suicide. And Ellen DeGeneres, of course, issued a statement saying she's heartbroken over the death. No one saw it coming. Cheerful guy. Lit up the show with his music and everything. And yet there was some inside pain that people just didn't see, and he took his own life. So we're reflecting on the states of mind that people go through when they are feeling worthless, feeling that they just can't face whatever it is that's hurting them. They can't face it anymore and they want it to end. And most of the time, other people don't see it coming because people tend to hide depression. But I believe there's a new suicide hotline now, or not, or a because there's 911 and then there's another number. I'm trying to remember what the new number is to call for things like,
Mhm.
a mental health crisis, because
Well,
they
I
realized 911 was just too all inclusive. And then sometimes people would be having a mental health crisis and police would come, and they're, in attack mode because they're saying, okay, this is somebody who might hurt somebody. And what you really need is help because you're going through a mental health crisis. So they
right.
realized they needed to have a different number for that and different kinds of people responding to that. So
Mhm.
I'll find what that new number is.
Well, every state has a hotline. Every state does.
Yeah.
Ours is GCAL, Georgia Crisis Line. You
Mm,
know, that's ours. Where you will talk to a clinician, and that clinician will assess you over the phone. And if that person deems that you are in crisis, they would do what they call a 1013. A 1013 is when they call 911, and they'll have the authorities go over to your home, and they come with a mobile assessor, and that person will take you to the police. Authorities will take you to a facility so that you can get help.
mm.
So but again, one must call that number.
And every state
So
has a
every state has it. Yes.
has their own number. And
Yeah, has its own number. I'm sure Chicago does too,
yes, I
because
know.
it's a mandated from the state and federal government. Because suicide and mental illness is extremely heightened, more so, I believe, since 2020. To be honest with you,
Yes, yes.
it seems that it has escalated in its numbers, where people then are making choices, you know, to no longer live. They rather leave this earth, leave their loved ones behind, and to move on, not knowing that they're leaving a detrimental impact on their loved ones. So we We say suicide is selfish, you know, because it is.
You don't think of how you're going to affect other people. Now, what I have here for the suicide hotline, I know I have to check and see if this is a national number, 988. I'm not certain if this is
That may be a national number. That sounds like a national number.
number 988 for a suicide hotline, which of course is going to be different than 911, which is any kind of emergency,
Hmm.
police, health, or whatever, but suicide in specific. And again, I'm sure it's understood that mental health is a whole different situation. And there have been times when 911 was called and a person was going through maybe a psychotic episode or whatever the case may be. Um, and the people who came were police officers who were not trained in mental health.
Right.
They respond in the way they were trained. So it's understood that there's a different kind of training for someone who is going through an emotional crisis, a mental health crisis. And so different kinds of people need to respond. So they understood they needed to have a different number so it could go directly to the people who can help. And that number is
Correct.
988.
Yes, yes. I want to again to really discuss the component of self-love and know that it's not again just a person just taking care of their outer being. Okay. Self-love is a two-way street. It's the inner, you got your inner being and you have your outer being. So your outer being just requires, I call feed the self-preservation, getting up in the morning, brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, your average personal hygiene. And you can take it a bit further. You can put a little blush on for women. For men, you can put cologne on, just your basic, if that's all you're gonna do. Okay. Um, and some people spend a whole lot of money on this outer being, you know. They keep this adorned with so many things, gold and silver and diamonds. They spend excessive amounts of money on cosmetic work and all of these things, right? But isn't it funny that no one does anything mainly for the inner man?
Yes.
Why is that the last thing that we soothe, that
Because
we decorate, that
we,
we honor?
we don't know that we should. We're not taught that we should. As a matter of fact, many times we're taught that it's selfish
It
or
is.
centered to love yourself. You're supposed to be self-depreciating. I remember hearing those kind of messages growing up. Oh, don't get the big head. Don't be arrogant. And so even sometimes our religious teachings, they talk about humility, being humble, and being humble doesn't mean that you don't love yourself, but sometimes the way it gets translated is that you're supposed to be always self-depreciating, always put yourself down like, oh, I'm nothing. And as if that's something admirable to think little of yourself. So I think maybe people need some retraining as to what being humble means. It doesn't mean that you think little of yourself. It just means that you're not arrogant in thinking that other people are lesser than you. But how do we strike a balance so that people don't?
Well, the thing about it is
No.
self-love, in my definition of self-love, is the ability to give yourself what you need without permission of others.
Mm.
And also, self-love comes with self-rescue. See, this is the thing. It doesn't matter what you call. It doesn't matter what life you grew up in as a child. It doesn't matter what you saw or what you heard. It's what you know.
Right.
Self-creation comes with self-love. So if I knew that I experienced that at some point in my life, I have to make a choice. I either can believe as truth in my virtual reality that what I've heard is truth, and then I will live that thing as truth. However, I do have a freedom of choice. Freedom of choice says I can choose however I want to feel when I want to feel it. It's not selfish for me to love myself. It's called selfness. Selfness is a part of every human being. But what happens is we struggle with that because, again, when we were younger, we were always told what to do, how to do it, how to feel. Sit down, stand up, eat your food, make good grades. If you don't do this, this is going to happen. Or you may not be good enough for that. Or you may not be worthy for this. All right. So those are opinions of our influencers.
Right.
That's what they are. They're only opinions. That doesn't mean that as you grow up, that you will be their opinion. However, most people that walk this earth, Naima, are products of their childhoods.
Yeah.
So what does that have? What happens? Let me show you the collision. I want to share this with Vieta, and I want them to see this. Vieta says, Grand Rising Queens, yes, let's fly, first love yourself. And Zelda said, Grand Rising, beautiful Queens, expecting an awesome show as usual. Thank you for sharing and caring, saving lives today. The thing about this is the component of life is just like a fine woven fabric. Now, if you ever heard of a plume, this like think about a machine that's running and is weaving this fine woven pattern. But every now and then you see a string that the machine didn't catch. Okay.
Mm.
And then that little string, because it's a string, think about a string on a piece of fabric. If you pull it, what is it going to do? The tension is going to cause a small tear.
Ooh.
And as the woven is constantly weaving, remember, life doesn't stop until we stop it
Mm.
internally. If we determine that we want to stop it, it stops, but it does not, but it's constantly weaving. So there's tears. There's tears in the human soul that people experience, and they don't understand how humongous those tears are until they start feeling differently, feeling, thinking differently about this being.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? So it's what they've heard, the influencers of our lives. That's what I call parents and friends, uncles, aunts, associates, people, just people. Those are influences of our lives. Since we came through our mother's womb, we've been influenced by something, whatever that something is, right? Okay, so we take all of that information is in the subconscious mind, be it bad, good, or extremely ugly. It's there, but life is constantly moving. So here comes those tears from whatever the childhood traumas, crisis, whatever it was, feeling the apprehension, feeling the uncertainty of those things. So as we grow up, if those tears are not mended, Naima, they tend to get bigger.
Mm.
They tend to cause more turbulence in our minds.
Yeah.
The turbulence is not on the outside, it's on the inside. It's a virtual thing, it's a spiritual thing that this individual is going through. So, again, life is constantly moving. That tear is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Now it is formulating a thought process. And that thought process is what they call impaction. It impacted us so much till we're broken, fragments,
Wow.
fragmented.
Ooh.
So how can a person fix fragments? The particles. It's hard to fix a particle. If it was a piece of a puzzle, okay, let me see where that piece fits. But those particles, my dear, that's what causes one to lose oneself because they can't grab hold of those particles anymore. They're too minute. And but those are the most powerful pieces of all that was lost. So what can one do at that point? They can only fall into a depth of desperation because they can't put it together anymore. Most people go through depression on the severity of the levels. I can't pretend anymore. Outside, oh, I'm the smiling person, everything is fine, but inside is again crumbling because the particles are getting larger and larger, and the pieces that could have been put together, you can't even find them no more because the particles. You ever seen the dust? Have you ever seen like big pieces of nothing but dust all over the place, and you're trying to figure out where the piece is that I need to put together because everything is being grind up in the particles, and I can't hold on to it because when I grab it, it just flows through my hand. So I had to give that. I want somebody that's hearing this, you know, suicide is real. These people, they lose the sense of the analogy of why one should survive. And so that pain of can't put it together anymore, I can't survive anymore due to A, B, C, D, and everything else around it. When you can't put the pieces together anymore, what you do? What do? You leave it all behind. You just leave it all broken and fragmented for someone else to figure out.
People are believing that if they end their life, then they will just cease to exist. There will be nothing.
That's not
And
true.
that's not true. What I did, I think for the last several years, I
Mm,
did a morning, uh, just 5-10 minute talk, introducing people to various videos that are featured on our on air uh, news website. People who are giving motivation, giving some spiritual lessons, and I did a series on people who were on shows talking about their near death experiences, people who almost died and came back and described what the other side was like. And I wanted to share those for people who are wondering what happens when we transition, and they need to know that your consciousness doesn't ever cease to exist. They need to know that you're not escaping. When you leave here, whatever you leave behind is going to follow you, and whatever you're going through is for you to go through it and get through it, but you can't leave it because it's going to still be there. As bad as the pain is, you can survive it. But many people who had near death experiences from suicide expressed extreme regret because, number one, they were able to see how they hurt so many people, and that's painful. And number two, they were able to see if they had just held on, they could have overcome this temporary difficulty. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And we when we can't see the other side, when we can't see beyond what just seems like it's just going to be insurmountable, then we think if I just end it all, then it'll be over. But you can't end it. You can't end your existence. And that's what we have to understand coming into this life. You exist, and you're going to exist whether you're in this body or not in this body. But leaving this body is not going to make your consciousness disappear. You're going to see even clearly, even more clear. And this is what I hope to impart to people so that they can understand, even at your darkest hour, you really can't leave. There's nowhere to go. You can leave this body, and then that means you don't have the ability to fix the problem because you're not in a body anymore, but you still have a consciousness, you still have an existence, you still have a memory. And the hell you experience is realizing that you could have gotten through it if you just held on. I mean, it's if people can understand that you don't disappear into nothingness when you end your life, then they'll realize I got to get through this. And sometimes it's hard, like if you're going through something like maybe a public humiliation, because we've seen a lot of people publicly humiliated on social media, a lot of young people, and someone posts, say, sex pictures of you or some other humiliating, degrading thing. At that moment in your youth, you can't imagine what life is going to be like 10 years from now, 20 years from now. You can't visualize that you're not even going to be the same person, and your life circumstances are going to be different. All you know is what you feel right now: shame, guilt, humiliation. I can't face the world. People are going to laugh at me forever. People are going to make fun of me. People are going to bully me forever. I can't stand it. I need to leave. You're not realizing that in the future this will just be a memory, and it's a memory you can erase and replace with something else. That's why it's so hard when young people get suicidal. They don't have a sense of time passing and a future that changes everything. All they can see is now I'm in pain, and it seems like it's going to be forever. Same thing with a breakup. A lot of suicides that happen after a breakup, a love relationship. Oh, I can't live without him. I can't live without her. I don't want to live anymore. And then, like you say, murder side. I don't want to live.
Mhm.
Take her out too. All of that, because you're not seeing that 10 years from now, you won't even feel the same. 10 years from now, you will be a different person having a different life experience. You just got to get through this difficulty. If you can get through it, you can overcome it. That's the life lesson. And another thing we've been sharing with people: if you came here to experience something in order to conquer something in yourself and grow spiritually, you're not going to get out of it. And this is a spiritual understanding that if we can impart this to humanity, understanding that whatever challenge you're facing, if you exit now because you think you can't deal with it, you're going to have to come back and go through the same circumstance again until you master it, because that was a decision you had. I want to master this situation. So
Yes.
you check out, you're going to be checking back in at another time and maybe another identity, but the same situation. Your soul has to master this. And that's the understanding of, if people can have growing up, that whatever you're facing, it's to make you a better person. It's for you to overcome it. It's for you to learn from it. You're not here. God is not punishing you with just ongoing pain. God doesn't hate you, and you're not just dissolve into nothingness if you put a gun to your head or swallow a bunch of pills. You're going to exist. So there is no exit. Get through it. But of course, it's hard.
Yes.
It's hard when somebody's on the ledge about to jump. It's hard for them to be rational, because at that point they're not rational anymore. They're just in pain, and they can't even hear you. That's the difficulty. And I don't know how people deal with it when they're in a situation where they're trying to talk somebody out of suicide. That's going to be the most stressful thing in the world. And I don't know how people get. I don't know how people can emotionally deal with that, because sometimes if you're unsuccessful and you're trying to help a person understand and they just can't hear you and they jump off the ledge, and you have to see that and you think, if I had tried harder. I mean, that's why people who are first responders, the suicide is so high. Police officers, suicide is high, because they see a lot. And then there's the blame of, if I had just done something, if I had just done more, then you blame yourself. So it's a
Yes.
thing. It's a hard thing when a person doesn't love themselves, and you can't make them love themselves. You can't make them feel the love that other people have. You can't make them know that people care, because in their own minds they just don't feel worth it. They feel worthless.
That's true. Well, I just want to really emphasize that there's a spirit of energy that's lingering, and the spirit of energy of suicide and self-destruction is real on the earth today. Okay, it is one of those things that if you don't have self-awareness and to take care of yourself, then you could fall into some very detrimental areas. Um, and this energy comes with stifling amounts of overloads and overstimulation mentally, emotionally, from the smallest things that some people like. Why would a person jump out their car and shoot another individual when that person just cut them off in traffic. Okay, something so simple as that, right? So what is really going on? You know, again, no self-awareness. There is no self-awareness. If I'm self-aware that I am self-defeating, which is saying that I can't do something, I'm not worthy of something, self-sabotaging, pushing people away even when I know I need help, and self-destructing, which is thinking suicidal thoughts. Okay, that right there should tell someone that I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. Again, most people don't realize when a person is at its deepest areas of pain until they have an action. It's an action that comes out of that pain. That action gets so surreal, it gets so overpowering to the point where that person themselves can't even concentrate on life, you know? And again, we play the poker face. See, people in celebrities, they put on the facade that everybody wants to see. But ordinary people are, they just fade in and fade out in the distance of time, you know. I want to talk about the self powers, if I may, dealing with self love. We all have self powers. And those are the self powers that, our creator gave to us because it's needed for the fulfillment of life. So I'm going to go through these self powers today. And one of those self powers is self love. Again, self love is the ability to give yourself what you need without anyone's permission. And it's not to tear yourself down. That's the first rule. One cannot tear themselves down in any type of way, not verbally, not mentally, not emotionally, not spiritually or physically. That is no longer an option when you practice the proper amount of self love. Because self love is going to bring balance. You have power of pause. Power of pause is when you take a moment for yourself, when you feel overstimulated, overwhelmed, overworked, unloved, whatever the case may be. You pull yourself out of the fire, pull yourself back. You take 5 or 10 minutes for you and ask yourself, okay, what should I do next that's going to benefit me? How am I going to rescue myself out of this thought process? How am I going to rescue myself out of this feeling? And you have to ask yourself that, open mouth, and ask yourself that. Don't just sit there and go through it in your head. Open your mouth so you can hear what you're trying to do. The other self power is called the power of choice. The power of choice. You have the power to make a choice. You always have a freedom. It is not an option for you to think that you do not have a freedom to choose. No matter what someone else thinks of you, no matter what someone else is in your life, what kind of relationship you have, family, or whatever, you have the permission to choose. But be careful what you choose, because there's four occurrences. Those four occurrences are consequence, situation, circumstance, and repercussions. No matter what you choose, those are going to happen. Those occurrences are going to happen with or without your permission. Then you have the power of purpose. Most people feel they don't have a purpose because someone told them that they wouldn't amount to anything. Someone told them that they were not worthy of life. Someone might have mistreated them. Someone might have violated them, and they think lowly of themselves. Well, I'm so sorry. That's not an option for you to think that way. Because self-love requires, this being requires that you create your own purpose. Don't wait for somebody to give you a purpose. You create your own, regardless of what that is. We all have gifts inside of us. Gifts of art, music, drawing. And you say, well, Dr. Dev, I've never done anything. That's not true. You serve purpose in somebody's life, I guarantee you. Someone is your friend. Someone's always watching you, be it on a job, being a total stranger. You may have a dog, you may have a cat. We serve purpose all day long because we have titles. We have titles. And sometimes if we don't have the best relationships with family, like mother, father, and brother, then we feel we don't have purpose. And we feel we don't have the best relationship with our cohorts, our significant others, our wives, our husband. Then we feel we lack purpose. No, your independent person creates your purpose. You don't need anyone else to create you. You can do a good job about that by yourself. So you stay empowered. The next power, self power, is power of resilience. It's when you don't feel like you can go on, then a part of you say, come on, let's go. Even when a person gets to a depression area in their lives, they're still going to drag themselves to the next whatever. Oh, I'm thirsty. Let me get some water. Or I'm hungry today, even though I haven't eaten for 4 days. Let me do this. It's all resilience is always there. It's just that we have to put our energy into that power of resilience. Then the next one is power of persistence. There's a part of you that constantly persists in something, whatever that something is, be it negative or positive, but you want it to be positive so you can be healthy. Persistence is the part of you that keeps going. Power of perseverance, the part of you that when you fall, you get back up again. And even people with depression goes through the same thing. They keep getting back up and then they get weary. The only reason why they get weary in the cycles of depression is because they didn't let something go. I truly believe most people who have depression is situational. Something that kept happening over and over again, the same thought process of obsessing and ruminating, a CD that you can't turn off in your head, that you think you can't turn off because that's all you feel you had. And that's not true. Because the mind can only occupy one thing, but the subconscious mind constantly gives the same data when we pay attention to it. Shift your mind. Use that to shift your mind. I don't want this thought. I don't want to think this way. I don't want to focus on this thing. Shift. Shift very quickly, between 30 to 45 seconds. And as the more you shift, the more you can control your mind. The more you shift mentally, the more you can control your mind. You are the author of your mind. You are the master of your mind. Not trouble, not despair, not pain. You are. And when we collect pain, people, and we don't let pain go, we collect it over the years until there's no more room in our mind. There's no more room in our hearts. There's no more room in our physical capacity to hold it. And that's why the mind gets totally confused. Say, well, what the heart is like, I can't take anymore. And it starts to wail with the pains of life and the issues of life. And the brain says, well, what do you want to do? I don't know what else to do, but shut down. Computer, log off. That's what suicide is. Computer, log off. No, you ain't sleeping. You ain't hibernating. You shut down. Power off. Power of destiny can't find you when you do that. And we all have a power of destiny. No matter what it is, we have a power of destiny. And that destiny could be great or whatever you're doing now in your present moment. This is your present moment. You have people that walk around every day in the past. They don't experience the day. The day is called a present. A present. It's a gift. But if your body's in the present moment, your mind is in the past, where is your being? You're fragmented. That's the reason why things happening. You are fragmented. What can happen? Fear is going to come in and devour you because it knows and it's depending that you will not control your mind. It knows that you will be emotional. It knows that you're not going to do anything logical. It knows you're not going to do any self rescue. And it depends on that. All the stuff in the subconscious mind of the pain comes to the frontal lobe right here. You start triggering. You can't get out the trigger because you're not shifting. You have to learn how to shift out of a negative thought. Every single moment of the day, you have to guard your mind.
Yes. I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
It seems that people are triggered by fear of something they have experienced before, and that is what they're dreading re-experiencing. It would seem that if you have never had a devastating blow happen to you, then you don't have a memory of what that feels like. So you don't have a reason to fear it reoccurring. So let's say if a person has had the devastation of being abandoned as an infant, or assaulted, or or has gone through tremendous physical pain, or just a feeling of danger where they can't escape getting beaten, whatever the case is, that feeling that is just so devastating to them, they don't ever want to repeat that again. So is the fear that triggers suicide the fear of that thing that they remember feeling happening again? Is the desire to escape the fear of something that happened in their past that at the time maybe they were a child, they couldn't defend themselves from it, and the idea of re-experiencing that is so overwhelming, that's why they'd rather just exit.
Well, it could be several things. Something that has been presently happening over a period of time. It could also be sudden news that they want to share with someone and they don't want to go through it. You know what I'm saying? It could be complications medically or terminally. It's so many different reasons why a person would say, I no longer want to breathe anymore. It's not just, it's the pain of the uncertainty, the pain of knowing that I have to go through this,
it,
you
it seems
know.
it seems like it's something that they're believing they're going to feel that they don't want to feel. But how would you know how it feels unless you felt it before? Even because I've known of people who have taken their life because they say I don't want to be a burden on my family. So in their mind, they're imagining, it seems, people hating having to take care of them, and them feeling like others wish they would die. And it's devastating, the idea that people will feel that way about them, and how they would feel knowing that people wish they would die. They would rather not feel that. So that, like you say, they're living in the future. They're projecting an event that's going to happen and how they're going to feel about that event. So rather than that happen, they choose to end their life, believing something that's going to happen in the future is going to make them feel a certain way that they don't want to feel. But all of it's in their own mind. But my question is, how would you know how it feels to have people see you as a burden? Have you ever been a burden before? Has anybody ever made you feel like they wish you were dead? What is it that you're believing you're going to feel that you're avoiding feeling? I'm wondering, where does the feeling that they're avoiding come from that they're afraid they're going to feel, if it
Well,
hasn't ever happened?
that's just it. That people with that type of mindset are constantly in pain. So they're feeling, they're in their emotional mind. See, we have a logical mind and we have a emotional mind. When the emotional mind overloads the logical mind, then there's no reason, there's no rationale, and there's no logic. Logic says, why are you doing this? Because you're going to cause pain on your loved ones. You don't have to destroy yourself. Look at it from another point of view. Rationale, reasoning says that. But when a person is in a suicidal state, they are not in that thinking capacity. They're not frontal lobe, Naina. They're all occipital. They're back here. They're in their subconscious mind. So whatever's in the subconscious, be it trauma, crisis, whatever's back there, that's where they're living. In other words, that's where their virtual mind is. They're in the subconscious mind. And in the subconscious mind, if it's unhealthy, then it trumps the conscious mind. If it's unhealthy, because remember, they just feel. People in suicide just feel. They don't, you would think, well, don't they have to think to make a, I mean, look at this. Look at this. The thought process. The thought process is like this. I have made a choice to take my life. Okay, so right there in that, look at what Twitch did. He left his home. But when he woke up that morning, or even before he went to sleep that night, laying next to his wife, I'm sure, you know, I truly believe it wasn't something he just decided to do that day.
Yeah,
No,
it was festering inside of him for a long
it was, yes, for however long.
and no one knows what. And
No,
sometimes, I mean, I've seen different situations where someone is afraid that something's going to happen. Like people are going to find this thing out about me, and then I will be devastated with the
right. That's what I'm saying. So
I can't face it. And it's always a belief that whatever the feeling is, it's going to be so emotionally devastating, you can't survive it. It's just too much for you. The pain of it
what
is too much.
whatever it is, they don't want to face it. Again, most, if you don't know, um, I mean, one thing about sickness, terminal illness, some people rather commit suicide before going through a terminal illness. Because this is it's so many different factors of suicide. It's not just one. It's not, no, some people, they commit suicide because they lost their loved one. Some people commit suicide because they had a breakup. You
Yeah,
see what I'm saying? Like we see this all the time.
yeah,
We'll see someone have a gun, kill the family, and then kill themselves. That's still suicide.
yeah,
So they don't want anyone to live. You
yeah.
know what I'm saying?
I don't
So,
want you to live through my suicide, so I'll take you out first. And
and or whatever because it is a very unsettling spiritual energy. I can't express how unsettling it is, how detrimental it is, how terrible and horrific it is, you
yeah,
know? And it's like, it is something that is happening on this earth with the people on this earth. You know,
also,
it's happening it happens more often than what we think because we see it over and over and over again. It's almost like an epidemic that no one wants to talk about.
yeah,
Okay.
because they don't know what to do about it. And now I can
No.
understand. I can understand. I guess what is it called? Uh, the assisted suicide, um, euthanasia, whatever the case may be.
Oh, yeah, when people are
When
suffering.
people just suffering and there's no hope to recover and heal them, or at least it's not known how to heal them and how to stop the suffering. And they feel like, why am I just living to suffer? Take me off life support, take me off, let me just pass away. And I know people will do that with their animal friends, their pets, their household companions, but it's still not allowable for human beings. And I can understand how people would feel like, well, I have a right to choose if I'm going to live and suffer or not live and suffer. But your loved ones always want you to hold on. There might be a cure, or hold on, we might find something, hold on. And you might feel like, I don't feel like living in pain anymore, I'm ready to just go.
Yes.
And that's always difficult, because your loved ones, they want you to still be around and keep hope alive that there will be a cure found for whatever's causing you pain. You may decide, I don't want to keep experiencing this physical pain that I'm going through right now. I want it to end now. So I can understand that point of view when it's physical pain. I think the difficulty is when it's emotional pain, because nobody can see that.
Right.
And but you,
And that's what they suffer with, emotional mental pain. And
yeah,
again, it is a very loud cry, but no one can hear you.
yes. So
That's the detrimental part of individuals that suffer with that mindset of suicide ideation, because again, emotions are not something we can take out. It's not like you can't remove it with surgery. You can't douse it with a pill. Even if you're on psychotropic medication, you know what I'm saying, it will lift up the feeling, but it doesn't change the life. That's why you have to have psychotherapy with med management in order to the right psychotherapy. Psychotherapy is like getting that person that they never loved themselves, that they didn't do anything for themselves. They need to develop that component in life, because if you don't develop that component in life, you'll go right back into the cycles of depression and anxiety in the highest levels. You have to know that there's no option to self determinate, self harm, self destruct. That cannot be an option. Way before you even get to that level, you have to seek help immediately,
yeah,
because the brain doesn't understand rationale. The subconscious, the consciousness, if you're thinking from frontal lobe, oh yeah, that's not right. This is right. Okay, it weighs its integrity, right? Subconsciously, it doesn't have a rationale. So it gives you all of the things that you think. If you're thinking about a terrible event in your life, and the thought just comes there, the subconscious really just asking you, okay, what do you want to do with me today? You want to continue to think about me, or do you want to solve me and finalize me? Most people don't realize that. They just think that they're having this terrible thought, and they start obsessing over it. And before they're obsessing, they start ruminating. They can't get it out of their head. And it becomes their virtual reality every single day. And that thing gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And here comes all of the other stuff that's back there with it. Now, again, their virtual reality becomes reality, and
yeah,
they can't get out of it. They're like, I can't go on from this. I don't know what to do. I can't go. I can't pretend no more. And so they check out.
yes. Yeah, well, I know you have to depart a little early today. And I want to let our viewers know that if you didn't hear the announcement earlier, Blog Talk has been having some technical difficulties lately. And today we've got a number of people that have been patiently waiting on the switchboard.
Oh
That
goodness.
unfortunately, I can't bring you into the conversation. However, if you're also watching on Soulful Solutions on Facebook or YouTube, we want you to still comment, uh, pull us up and write in your comments, and we'll conversate the best way we can. Um, Blog Talk has been having a lot of technical issues lately, and I'm going to be optimistic that it's just a symptom of growth. Sometimes your system can get overloaded. I'm not going to be paranoid that they're censoring us, even though we put out some powerful information.
Yeah.
But we will be having a conversation with that organization, because too many of our hosts have been disrupted over these last several weeks. And it could just be technology is evolving, and staff members, whoever works them, may have just had difficulties trying to orient everything. But this is why we're on multiple platforms, because we don't want to
Right.
miss anything. So YouTube, Facebook, we're gonna consistently, and of course we're moving to TV real soon. So
Yes.
we're going to continue to grow and offer you multiple platforms, also adding additional audio platforms for those who are listening through your smartphone and your smart cars, listening to the show as you drive to work. We want to make sure we give you an audio experience for those people as well,
Hmm.
because this is information you definitely should not miss. This is life-changing information. Dr. Debbie is
Yes.
saving lives every day at work, and we also want her to be able to save some lives right here on the Female Solution. There are a lot of people
Absolutely.
going through depression, and you never know who might have been getting ready to think about it seriously. They
Yes.
have changed their mind. So we never take that for granted.
Mm-mm. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Again, self-awareness is the key. It's the key. You have to know when you're in trouble and how to rescue yourself. And it takes all of you to rescue you. You can't, we're mind, body, and soul people. You can't just look at one component of yourself. You have to rescue your whole self. And nothing outside of yourself is so overpowering till it makes you destroy yourself. It doesn't matter what it is. It's all about the concept of your human mind. If you think the best, you will receive the best. And that instant gratification that most people want and desire. I want things to happen quickly. Well, the old saying, Rome was not built in a day, neither are our lives. So, we have to create as we go. I want to just talk about a quick foundation, and I want to give this to you. The foundation of life requires several things. One of those things are self love, self discipline, and self awareness. When it doesn't matter how you grew up or what race you are, or how much money you have or what you don't have, is that what matters is that you always have a solution. No matter what you're going through, there's always a solution. And you always think about that. What's next? You ask yourself, even when things seem like they're to their thickest hard, let's say between a rock and a hard place area. What's next? And sometimes we have to literally step away from a bad relationship, step away from family that may be stressing us, step away from a job, or whatever the case may be. Step away. It's all right to remove yourself from situations. You don't have to stay in any particular mindset. You don't have to stay in any particular positioning in life. Nothing is etched in stone, people. We can move ourselves at any given moment. And, even if you are in a state of desperate, measures such as domestic or family violence, you can remove yourself even from that. Some people, when they go through desperate areas, I'd rather die to keep going through this. They say that. I'd rather die,
Hmm.
you know, instead of like, okay, let me do something different. Let me pack a bag and just and leave, or let me see if I can find some other resource. If I can't handle my children without, taking them through changes, let me. It's always a solution.
Yes.
There's never an area. There's never an area that we don't have to move on. The only time it gets that way is when you say it's that way. When you stop looking for solutions. Soulful Solutions, when I created the name of this show, I looked at how people's souls are damaged over the periods of life. And then I wanted to offer solutions to those things. And most people look for answers. I need an answer now. But sometimes an answer is short-lived. It don't last. But solutions, they last. They last over a period of time, and you can keep using those same things. You don't just use it one time. Once you find something that works, keep using it. And this is dealing with your inner being. 45-second rule. Let me give you this one. 45-second rule. When you're in a negative mindset, it seems like you can't stop worrying or stop, concentrating on something. 45 seconds, which is before that thought just keeps, as soon as it hits your mind and you keep doing it, 45 seconds shift. The mind can only concentrate on one thing at a time. On one thing at a time. I don't care how many thoughts are flowing through your mind. I don't care if you wake up in the middle of the night or the early morning. Shift, get up, move, because the brain has to concentrate on your movement. It's when we lay there and we become a victim of life, is when things start to close in. Second thing, no victim mentality. You're not a victim to anything. You're not a victim to your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your wife, your cat, your dog, nothing. You're not a victim to anything. Know that you have the ability to say, I'm free. Freedom is really free. You cannot put yourself into bondage. Don't allow yourself to think that you got to stay in a situation and can't leave. Who says that? What law is that? Why did you create that law in your life? That you have to stay someplace mentally, emotionally, physically that you don't want to stay. Move, shift, run. I don't care how you get away. Just eliminate it. Eliminate it. Do whatever you have to do, but you don't have to take yourself off this earth to do so. You don't have to take someone else's life either to do so. Move. Some people just pack a bag and leave, and you won't see them again.
Yeah.
They ghost them, in other
No
words.
one knows why.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I think when people have memories that they have not dealt with, or emotional pain that's somewhere in their past, that can resurface if they don't deal with it. I mean, we've seen so many situations where people snap, they act out, and then you find out, well, as a child they went through this, or they had that trauma, or they were raped, they were assaulted, they were abused, they were abandoned, and you think you're over it and you're not. It's like our guest, was it last week before last, the author
Yeah, Janine.
Janine. I mean, when you go through a trauma in life, you never want you survive it, but the damage is inside of you, the trauma is inside of you. You never want to relive it. So if anything happens that makes you think you might relive that feeling again, I could see where that would just cause a person to snap and just uh, do whatever they had to do to escape that experience again, even though you may have survived it. But unless you went through some type of healing, some type of counseling, some type of resolution of it so that it doesn't still attack you, then it can rise again and attack you. And that's what I see happening with a lot of people who are committing suicide based on something that they fear is going to happen to them that they won't be able to handle. And it's always a projection of what's going to happen as opposed to something that actually exists, like you say, a virtual reality.
Yes.
But when they haven't healed from the pain of the past, it can always loom over them as a threat. This can happen again. This can happen again. This can happen again. And they never want to face it again.
Right. And it's an uncertainty. It's the uncertainty of what's going to happen. What am I going to do when this thing is constantly happening? And not knowing there's no resource. They think that whoever they're around, that either they kept it all inside and let it fester, or if they did tell somebody about it, um, they just didn't get the answers that they need. I mean, it's so many factors of how they just got to a point where, I can't, I can't move on any longer. I'm dead inside. I might as well be dead physically,
So
you
how does
know.
a person how does a person find somebody who can be emotionally supportive when they're at that point? Because I mean, the last thing you need to do is talk to people who don't help, like people who say dumb things like, "Oh, girl, shut up. You just want attention," and any kind of thing that isn't acknowledging your pain and could just push you over the edge. You want to stay away from those people. How do you find people who can be emotionally supportive when you're in a crisis?
Well, of course, a therapist. If you have a therapist will definitely be emotionally supportive. But a good friend of someone who knows what you're going through, who you have shared these
Right.
situations with.
Yeah.
Um, we call it talk buddy. Okay, a talk buddy is going to tell you the truth. They're not going to just make it seem like everything is okay, but they're going to tell you the truth. They're going to help you rescue yourself. They're going to be there for you to express to them, okay, hey, I don't want to live anymore. I can't take this anymore. Okay, let's talk about that. You
Mhm.
know, and listen, a good listener is the best thing for a person that's going through that. It's a good listener. When one listens to an individual, then that helps them to unveil a lot of this pain. It's just that again, when people were holding these things inside, all of that energy of pain stays inside. So they're not talking, journaling keeps it flowing outwardly and it's not combined. So again, a therapist, a good friend, a confidant, that is there for you, not to judge you, not to be biased or anything, not to tell you or minimize what you're feeling at that moment, because that's what some people do. They minimize, you may go to a pastor to practice, say, well, you need to go pray, you know. But, yes, prayer does work, but you still
Yeah.
have to talk about it.
Yeah.
Find out why are you feeling this pain? What have you been holding on to? How long have you been holding on to it? What it makes you feel? How long should you think you should hold on to it? Bring them back to the frontal lobe instead of the feeling mind.
Yeah. I think a lot of people expect pastors to have training that they don't have. They expect them to be able to counsel, and not all pastors. Matter of fact, from what I've observed, very few pastors have the training to help somebody in an emotional crisis. And many times people have said that they have gone to a pastor and gotten pretty much, oh well, just pray about it, the Lord will help, and yeah, that's true. But like you say, at that time they're not in their frontal lobe, they're not logical, they need something else. They need a hug. They need, I mean, it's just, I think, and it's unfortunate that pastors are expected to have training as if they are counselors and therapists, and they're not. I mean, they know that Bible back and forth, but when you're suicidal and in a deep state of depression, and biochemically, even the chemicals in your bloodstream, you know, uh, you're going through a depression on the deepest level, that pastor doesn't have the knowledge and training to help you, because they've been trained on the contents of the Bible and perhaps how to apply it, and or maybe how to preach about it. But the training that's needed, you need a therapist, you need someone who can deal emotionally with you. And that's why they came up with that different emergency number 988, because 911 was bringing armed police officers. That's not helping. And
Right.
there's a different kind of wound that you have when you are emotionally wounded, mentally devastated, not thinking rationally, and just wanting to end the emotional pain. That's a different kind of set of skills that other people don't have if they have not been trained. So I would definitely urge. And there's a mental health number for Georgia there that
Yes, it's called GCAL. Well, it's I don't know exactly the numbers. I should, but because that's not really my department, but it's Georgia Hotline. It's Georgia Crisis
they can look at the
Hotline.
hotline if you're in
Yeah,
Georgia.
because
your job.
Yes. I mean, every state has one.
Yeah.
Every state has one.
Look up crisis hotline. Those are people who are trained to keep you on the phone. If they know they need to send somebody to your house, who are mental health experts. Because when you get to that point of depression, you're not in your rational mind,
No,
and
you're not rational at all.
so
At all.
yeah,
Period. You're feeling the pain to its highest. You're feeling the pain to its highest intensity.
yeah, and it feels, and it is real. It's real, and because it's the reality that you have created, so it is reality. So you don't need to talk to that sarcastic acquaintance that'll just say, "Oh, shut up, you're just emotional." You don't need to hear that. You don't need to hear ridicule. You don't need to talk to a friend that will listen to you and then go and gossip about everything you said and tell all your business and further devastate you. You don't need that. I've had that experience. It's not that'll push you over the edge even further. You don't need people who will dismiss you or ridicule you for being emotional. You don't need to be belittled. You need empathy, compassion, and someone with skills to help. And
Absolutely.
we need more of those people out in the field to help people who are going through, because like you say, since 2020, a whole lot of devastation has come out of homes. A whole lot of people who've been in homes where they're living with abuse, they don't know, they feel trapped, they don't know where to go, they become suicidal, they feel like they can't end the situation. Yeah, people who, relationships are breaking up and they feel devastated. Oh, I can't live without my spouse left me, and or we're bankrupt, I'm gonna be living homeless, I can't deal with that humiliation or devastation. I mean, all these things people are going through, and in their own minds the situation is beyond what they can stand, and they're at the edge and ready to end their lives. They need to talk to people who are trained to handle that level of emotional distress so they can get real help. So, Dr. Debbie,
And again, for our viewers and listeners, yeah, as I was saying, for our viewers and listeners, please know that it's not the answer. Self love is the cure to suicide. It is the cure. It really is. It's one of those things that if you do it every day, even if you don't know about it, even if you've never loved yourself, if you did it every day, if you just looked in the mirror and says, "I love you," if that's all you do, and you say it every day, "I love you," not because of ABC. I just love you. I
I'm
love
convinced.
every wrinkle on your face. I love you just for who you are,
That's
and it's okay. It's all right. And you know what that's going to do? It's going to change the way you feel about yourself. Because
yeah,
one day you're going to look in that mirror, you're going to believe what you just said. Even if you're
yeah.
struggling with it, you're going to believe it. You know, we got some comments. Here we are. 25 years ago, I worked on a crisis hotline and was the best skilled trainee ever.
Mm,
Hotline was open 25. And
mm.
she also said hotline was open 24/7, where most callers were suicidal. Eye-opening training for me with skills I still apply today.
Wow, that has to be.
Saving
We had to talk
lives
about
is
that.
real.
Yes, it is. That
Saving
is.
lives is real. It is very real. We want to just be able to let everyone know it's okay. You're gonna be all right.
Yeah,
You're gonna be okay. You don't come too far in this thing called life to say shut it down. No, you survived. You survived the hurt. You survived the pain. You survived what you went through. You're still here. And I know you probably feel like you're falling apart, like you're standing on one leg or not standing at all. But look at here. Let me tell you something about life. Life can make us in and put us in some of the most difficult situations, but it can also show us how strong we are,
yeah,
you know? And as you exert yourself, You get out of the old mindset. The old mindset of fear is suicidal. I can't go on. I'm not worthy. Nothing's working in my life. The new mindset of freedom says, I am willing to continue this life even when I don't understand it sometimes, even when it seems like it's overbearing. But I am making a choice today to do something different for me, not just for my children or my loved ones. I'm doing it for me today. And I don't have to leave this earth to make that happen.
That's important. That's
It's
important.
extremely important, Naima,
Yeah.
because there's too many people out. It's an epidemic. You know, we talk about the pandemic. No, it's an epidemic that of great proportions.
People are checking out of here because they can't see it getting better. They've lost hope. They can't see where anything is going to change and get better. And this is why it's critical that we bring you these programs, because we want to
Yes,
change your view of reality. The world is getting better. It is transitioning to a better place, but you got to stick around to see it. If you check out, you'll miss it, because
correct.
it's happening. We got to go through things. And how many religions have told us we got to go through a period of turmoil, and then there'll be 1,000 years of peace. So we're getting to that 1,000 years of peace, but we got to go through all of these transformations, self corrections. We got to go through healing of the body, mind, the spirit. We have to change the systems that run the world because they cause pain and suffering, and it's unnecessary. So we're helping people think differently so that they can create a different reality, and that will aid in the transformation that we're going to experience. So it's
Yes,
just like every life that's being lived, it's an opportunity for us to grow and transform and
yes,
understand and create. We're creating the world we want to live in,
that's right.
because we understand the way it is now. It's awful. People are mean to each other. People are mean. It is not necessary. Why are people doing mean things? Why are we creating mean systems? You make
Exactly.
somebody pay money because they don't have money. You charge them to put their car on in a place on the street, and then they don't have the money to pay it. So then you put a boot on their car, and then you tow it away. So now they don't have a way to get to work to make the money. So now they have to worry about it. They're going to be able to pay their rent, and then they get evicted. I mean, all these high level stress things that we're doing out of meanness. So all of these things are going to change, but we're going through them so we can know this is what needs to change, because we don't need to keep causing each other pain. We don't need to cause
Right.
each other hurt. We can all live together and help each other and live in love and peace and harmony, and everybody can have everything they need. Nobody has to hurt anyone. We have to learn that lesson. So if you can hang in there and get through this time of transformation, you're gonna experience that 1,000 years of peace. You're gonna experience that love, that joy, that peace. It's coming.
It's coming. It's coming.
Don't give up
And
hope.
you create it. You create your own bubble. That's
Absolutely.
all.
Start with
Create your own bubble. Start with you.
Yes. Start with you.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
love you, everything else changes, because then you keep telling yourself, I'm worthy of love. And then you'll love yourself. And then you'll attract to you people who love you. You got to
Yeah.
believe it first, because if you don't love yourself, you're going to attract people who keep reinforcing that you're not worth love. And it'll make you feel worse. So you got to change your thoughts, master your mind. Even if you have to be like that 4-year-old child that lives in a fantasy world, it's better to create a reality that you want to experience and then watch it manifest.
Yes.
Keep living in the fear of something that you don't want to experience, and then experiencing the pain and suffering of it as if it's real, and then wanting to end your life because you've convinced yourself that this is going to happen and you can't take it.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to a childhood
Exactly.
where your imagination create them imaginary friends, create the imaginary fun, create all of that, because then you put yourself in the vibration of that reality, and that will create the timeline of that reality, and you will experience it. That's how it works.
Yes, ma'am. That's exactly how it works. And you can't give up because giving up is not an option.
It's not an option.
It's not an option to give up.
Yeah.
You just have to shift out of the pain. Otherwise, you're gonna stay in pain if you don't shift.
Yes.
That's it, and that's what people don't. They don't use the power of choice. They don't use that. They just think this is something because it's on me. It's in my mind. This is what I have to deal with every single day.
I can't
Not
change.
knowing that you can change it at any time. Anytime you're ready.
You gotta
If you
believe.
got to if you got to get in survival mode to do that, then do so. Get in survival mode. Survival mode saying if I'm drowning, I got to get to the top in order to get some help. I can't stay down here because I can't breathe.
Yeah.
I have to get to dry land.
To keep on paddling,
Whatever. It don't matter. Any way you want to find
climbing.
your way out of it, I
Yes.
need you to do so. Again, we cannot join the majority of people of suffering in this world.
Right.
Believe me, there's enough of suffering. You don't have to add to it.
Right.
No, you don't
Right.
have to add to it at all.
And
You know.
that's the challenge, is to foresee what happens afterwards. What happens next? People think suicide is the end. No, it's the beginning of your regret.
Yes.
So if you can project in your mind what's going to happen afterwards. Now maybe you're thinking, okay, now this person who hurt me, they're going to feel really bad. They're going to regret that they hurt me because now I'll be gone. And actually, the person that you might think you're hurting, you're going to end up hurting the people that you didn't want to hurt, because the person who you might be hurting, they probably don't care. But the ones that do care, those are the ones you hurt. Think about, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your best friend, the people who really love you. Those are the ones that are going to be hurt, not the one that you might feel like, oh, they broke up with me, they made me feel bad, I'll show them. No, they're going to go on with their life. The people who matter, the people who you matter to, those are the ones you hurt. If you can
Mhm.
project that and understand that and realize that's not what I wanted to do, then don't do it.
Yeah. Mhm. No, you
Don't.
can't. Cannot do it. Cannot do it. Again, self love is the component of life. It's the most important component of life. You have self love, you have self discipline, you have self compassion. It just brings on so many other things towards you. And the universe has to give you what you need when you start loving yourself. Because then that love, you're literally putting outwardly as well. Because you're going to fill up your own cup. When you fill your own cup up, you push that love out into the world. And
Absolutely.
then that is when you will attract the love that you want. If it's a significant other, sometimes people feel extremely lonely. Okay, you will attract a
Mhm.
significant other. You attract who you are.
You
You
attract
attract who
who
you are.
you are.
Yeah,
Absolutely. You
absolutely. Well, we almost finished with our broadcasting today.
attract.
Again, thank you so much, Facebook, for supporting us.
Yes.
Always like our channel, of course, out there in YouTube land, and let us know what you think. Let us know your thoughts of what we can bring, and if you know a topic that you want us to discuss, please leave it in our comment section, and know that you are loved and you're worthy of love today.
Absolutely.
So make sure you accept that. Again, look in the mirror, do a self-reflection. Self-talk is nothing wrong with talking to yourself. It's a wonderful thing. We call it self-reflective talk in the psychological world, which is affirmations. I am worthy. I am loved. I love myself. And make sure you put I am in front of that statement, because I am is the most powerful affirmations there are. It's not I am. Let's just say I will be, I shall, I can. No, I am.
I am. I
Those are present. That's
am.
a present statement, which is going to line up with the reality that you want. And a lot of times we have to write it all out, put it on sticky paper, put it on your refrigerator, on your mirror. I don't care what you put, as long as you see it, because the mind, as soon as the eye looks at it, it reads it with or without your permission. So this is going to help you.
Absolutely.
And be encouraged.
Be
Be
encouraged.
encouraged.
Yes. Well, I can play our international ending for those who watch us all around the globe, and we want to make sure that if you missed any parts of this, you go back in the archives, go on YouTube, Facebook, uh, go to the Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green page and listen in and share this with somebody that, if your instincts tell you they may be going through a depression, just to be on the safe side.
Soulful solutions, yes.
Send them some soulful solutions. We thank all of you, and join us tomorrow for
We've come to the end of our show today.
health and well-being.
But you can hear every show at
And you can go to her.
www.blogtalkradio.com.
She'll be on her Soul Purpose Healing Facebook page.
You can also hear today's show on the Female Solution Facebook page.
And that'll be Facebook, and then go to Soul Purpose Healing. So you
Leave
can
your
see the
comments about today's show. You can always reach me on my website at www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com.
We know you're ready to go
Watch our
and
TV shows,
save some
listen
lives.
to our radio shows, order our books, and be sure to get
Goodbye.
your The Female Solution. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussion. And to our global family listening from all around the world, we say thank you.